On today's special episode of Homeworthy, we're sailing up the coast to take a peek inside some charming and historic homes across Maine. First, we'll visit interior designer Nicola Manganello at her beautiful home, lovingly known as Meeting Hill Farm in Yarmouth, Maine. Then we're off to Rockport to tour the 23-acre oceanfront Pyne family compound with the utterly unforgettable Tina Pyne. And lastly, we'll stop by Molly Walpuck's quintessential Maine cottage, brimming with coastal charm, shades of blue, and decor that tells a story. Enjoy! Watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
If you're looking to make your own space more homeworthy, we've teamed up with Cherish, our go-to online destination for chic, one-of-a-kind finds, sourced from the world's most wonderful vendors.
Mercury drops are from an artist I found on Cherish.
Whether we're after a bold statement piece or the perfect finishing touch, Cherish has extraordinary items that leave a lasting impression.
This table I bought on Cherish from Berlin, and it has a little bit of it's a tray, and it is mid-century, and it's one of my favorite pieces.
It's where we find iconic looks to set homes apart.
I think many dealers would agree that Cherish is the absolute best.
So to support Homeworthy and discover amazing items from Cherish, scan the QR code or click on the link below to start shopping.
Hi Homeworthy, I'm Nicola, and this is my home in Yarmouth, Maine. We call it Meeting Hill Farm. Come on in.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
Hi, I'm Nicola Manganello, owner of Nicola's Home, a design build firm in Yarmouth, Maine, and welcome to my home. This is a colonial style 1760s farmhouse that I bought about 7 years ago. And when I stepped inside, it was in disrepair and needed a lot of work. So that's where we embarked on 3 different renovations, and it has just evolved into a very warm, functional house for my family. Over the years, the home has been added onto several times. It's an original John Calvin Stevens design. There was a renovation done where they fixed all 5 fireplaces, so they're beautiful and they're original. The home itself was very chopped up, and as old homes are, it had very little closet space. The floors were different color pines. Some oak had been laid in over the years. So I ended up painting all the floors and laying in the new portion of the house some new floors, just to give the house a little bit of continuity, because it was a little chopped up and it was time for some love. Okay, so this would be considered in my home the formal front foyer, which was a very small space originally. It's not very large right now, but it had a very steep set of old, original to the house staircase that went to the second floor as a second egress. In the renovation, I chose to take it out to make this room bigger and to add a bathroom upstairs. So it's those kind of decisions that had to happen to make this house function for us now. And I designed this front door. This is a custom door done by Nicola's Home. I love designing doors, and this one is my favorite one. So it's 4-foot door, so it's nice and wide. So when you open it, it has all kinds of heft. We redid this front, and these I got these at an antique place. They have a little bit of pink in them, which I really love the warmth of. So I did side lights with our custom door, and I think this is really in keeping with the time period of the house, and just added another element of light. We had put in a limestone floor here just to be practical coming in from the weather, and I think it's a nice entryway into both my dining and my living room. My grandson loves playing with these sheep. I've had these forever. I mean, literally. I honestly don't remember where I got them. I think an antique store. But I have like little sheep all over the house, and they're just things I collect. I just think that sheep are so cute. This doubles as, it hangs my linens. And it's just, I also have a hidden closet over here where I hide linens as well, because I do like to entertain a lot, and so I do collect old linens. So this stores my linens. These are vintage chairs that I found. I believe I got these down in Texas, and they're really small and cute, but you know, when I have a large party, you do find people sitting in all the little corners. So I did want to have something soft in this space, and I thought these kind of framed the armoire lovely. And I collect antique rugs all the time. This one had just the simplicity to it, being that it had this navy trellis pattern, and I think that it was just perfect for how I was using blue in the home, and honestly, it wears wonderfully. I find a lot of these old rugs do. I think with the color story in my home, this area does kind of set you up to see how the colors flow from room to room. I think the pink in the side lights is just a small gesture of what you're going to see throughout the home. Pink is one of my favorite colors. I just love its blushiness and how it does make you feel wonderful. Blue is a staple, and also beige. And I think white woodwork, you're going to see that mostly because the home had a lot of original woodwork. So I think that that's going to also be a story throughout the home. So now I'd love to show you my living room, which is one of the coziest rooms in my home. Now we're in the living room, and this is probably one of my favorite rooms in the house. It is where I spend a lot of time in the evening. It was a long, skinny room, so it was really hard to work with, and this is the original room for the house. We have made some changes in the room where I opened this up a little bit more to the rest of the house and added this metal window just as a sort of point of detail to help divide the space but let the light come in still. The fireplace is original to the room, which is our absolute favorite. It's the biggest fireplace in the home. And this is kind of where we do the holidays too. So this is a major room for family gatherings and things like that. But the chaise is where I end up at night and watching television and reading and sitting by the fire. This room, I wanted to feel, it was all white when we moved in, all the woodwork. So I had a faux finisher come in and did this beautiful layered process to make this look a little more striated, and just gave the room a warmth. I didn't want to darken it, so it's like a really light beigey color, almost a washed white oak look. So just did that throughout to help the mood. I added a beautiful grass cloth to help give the walls some texture, but just a little background to offset the sort of subdued colors in this room. Again, there's pops of pink and a little bit of orange in this room, which has been nice. And I think, again, it's just showing that, you know, that transitional beige with accent colors is just sort of a trend in the home. These are chairs I made out of quilts that I designed for a company called Garnet Hill, and they're very old, but they are like the most comfortable chairs in the house. And this is where we really relax and enjoy the home, right here. You know, I grew up in Yarmouth, and it is a coastal community, and from the upstairs we can see the ocean from here, so we're not far from it. And I've always loved these little carved, I've been collecting these over time. They're little fishermen. Maybe we threw a pirate in there too, but I just think that they're whimsical and fun, a different sense of art in the home. This is an old break front. This was my mother-in-law's piece that she gave to us, which I love. And so it's important, like, to make space for things that you maybe wouldn't have purchased on your own, but that are important, sentimental. So that's what this is. And so I love this little piece. I was in New York City, and it was nighttime. I was in a cab, and I passed an antique store, and this was lit in the window. And I called them the next day, and they had a pair of them. And the scale of them is just beautiful. As you can see, the shade and everything. So I just knew they had to come home with me. They are very antique. They're lovely. They're probably maybe one of the nicest things I have in the house, because I do collect a lot of old things and things that I find in junk shops and antique shops. So these really help with the color story, I think, in the room too. I don't usually migrate to reds and rust colors, but there was just something about them. They made such a statement, and I think they're in keeping with the antique home feel. I think they're beautiful. I am a huge fan of like antique pine, old farm tables, and I think that, you know, positioning antiques in this home just adds the warmth that I think it needs. Where there wasn't a lot of wood paneling here, it was all painted, I feel like the house needed that. This is, I do collect these. I have another one on the other side of the room that's an antique pine one that's really simple. But I don't know what it is about the lines. I mean, Yarmouth is a coastal community, and I tend to always migrate to these things when I'm at antique shows. So I do love kind of working them in a lot of the homes that I do. Artwork is definitely something throughout the house that some of it's new, but some of it's been found and repurposed. And I love color, muted colors, and I think sometimes old paintings just capture that. The drapes in this room, however, are ready-made drapes. These are from Anthropology. So, you know, I think that even though it's sort of a high-level room and it has a lot of beautiful furniture in it, I'm not usually afraid to use a ready-made drape, because I think sometimes it's just the texture is what makes it work. So it's not necessarily these lined, heavy, expensive drapes. But I love these because they had these little wool sort of pom-poms on them, and I just think they were just enough. They let light through, not hugely expensive, but very effective. Originally looked at this house because I had a friend who was a groundskeeper here, and he mentioned that the home was going to be coming for sale. I was not looking for a project because I had a 8,000 square feet that I was renting down the street that was a store and a design firm. And when I saw the barn on this property, I was like, I had to rethink everything, and quickly. So it had mules in the barn and chickens, and so I was like, how can I make this all happen? The project really was the barn in the beginning, and that's what I turned into my design firm and office. So that was really the priority in the beginning, and that's why these sort of small renovations have happened over the years to the home. The home itself, in its raw form when I found it, it had a lot of beautiful woodwork and paneling and things that I wanted to keep. Certainly needed to get them stripped and redone just to bring out those elements of history that was so beautiful about the home. I think that I wanted the home to have a lot more continuity, like I said, and I wanted it to be brighter. So opening up some walls, making some rooms larger, was really allowing, there was just beautiful large windows with the old wavy glass, and it really allowed the home to sparkle in a way. So I wanted to enhance the home with new light fixtures, paint colors that were, I think I only have like 5 paint colors in the whole home. So it's like, I like that ease of how you can move from room to room and not feel, you know, that sort of jarring separation. Okay, so coming out of the living room, we come into this space that at first I wasn't really quite sure what to do with, because this is where the house ended, the 1760s farmhouse ended, and an addition was put on prior to me buying the home. So this actually was the original kitchen for the home, because it has the traditional like cooking arm for pots to hang on. It has a beautiful beehive oven, which we've cooked pizza in, that totally functions and works. And it's just amazing how well things were built back then that it still works beautifully today. So this is more of a little comfortable area looking onto the kitchen. We have these beautiful Maguire chairs that are kind of, I would say, a little more contemporary, but super comfortable. So oftentimes this is a place where we just sit, we play some backgammon, have a drink, and it's just another nook in the house that is comfortable for us. So I wanted to make sure that all these areas really just said comfort. My husband would say it's a problem, the pillow problem, but I'm an absolute pillow freak. So I find them and and I buy them and I layer them in, and I just feel like this one came with the chair, but this I just felt like added another layer. And I think with the blanket, I think texture is huge for me, and I think it is what makes my home warm. So I try not to do it so there's no room to sit on the chair, but occasionally that can happen too. But I layer, I use sisal rug, I use a lot of natural fiber rugs, and then I put the more durable rugs over it because I feel like it gives a ground to show off some of these beautiful antique rugs. Some of them have more color than others, but I mean, I think that layering is a part of what I do in my design. Another quirky piece that I found, it's sort of like a federal looking piece, kind of in keeping with the home, but the colors are like, they just work. Browns, greens, cream. You know, I felt like it looked cute with the tile. We did this clay tile to cover this one. I did this on a couple of the fireplaces just because I felt like it just gave it a little more light and brightness, and I felt like the home needed a little pop of color here and there. Interestingly enough, sometimes when you're working with clients, some things don't always work out, and I had a bunch of these sconces. They have lucite in them, which I think is beautiful because from the side you can kind of see through them. But so I had a bunch. So I put this sconce throughout the whole home and just carried that theme. This fabric actually I created on my own. We had this made up, the pattern, and then I just covered these shades just because I felt like this needed like a little bit of, with all the white shade just didn't set off from it. So I did a little fun whimsical shade for them. This painting in particular, I mean, this is just a perfect example of, this is a local artist here in Maine, and the way that she paints and her handle on color is just something that really speaks to me, because I feel like this modeled approach she has to creating figures, it's just like every painting I'm just completely drawn into, because I feel like I move them around the house because they work in like any room, but they bring color to the space. And in this particular one, it has all the colors of my house, so it's just really a great place to feature that. The artist's name is Tori Dorsey, and she's in Freeport, Maine, and Liz Moss Gallery carries all of her stuff, and it's great. Let me show you my dining room next. Come with me. So this is the dining room, which didn't used to be. This used to be an office actually, and it was a really small room, and you can tell by the beam in the ceiling where we open things up. And of course, in renovation, as you find, you do things sometimes quickly. We realized that this was going to be the center of the room because of how we wanted to set everything up. But I think that the way we found balance here can work. So it has a beautiful fireplace that's original to the home, which we love using when we entertain. This is an old table, not antique. It was newer. It has like 5 leaves. It seats like up to 15, 16 people. So we call it the gathering table. This is a table made here in Maine, and it stretches out the whole room. So I tend to hold a lot of the holidays. But I think that, you know, these hickory chairs that I have at the end that I've covered in this cool fabric, you know, I mean, I think like adding in these layers of furniture with these antique painted white dining chairs, I think like these little elements just kind of give it an eclectic feel, and that it gives the texture that I'm looking for. So this is a beautiful silk icot runner that I've had for years, and it's very neutral. I've had these chickens forever. I love them. They're kind of like a little bit of sculpture in the house. Sometimes they're on the floor places. They travel around. But I thought this time of year, it's kind of, we're heading into, you know, Easter season and spring, that I love to bring a little bit of spring into the space just to come off the holidays. So this bird chandelier, this is an Arteriers piece. I don't think they carry it anymore, but I do get a lot of comments on this. You know, it's got all these different shaped crystal birds, and I just think it's really whimsical for a farmhouse, and it's a great focal piece. So oftentimes when we're dining in the dining room, we kind of linger all night, and so I do like having comfortable furniture in this space as well, because some people will just sort of break off and have a glass of wine, and I had this sofa that actually a friend gave me, and I just redid it. And it was too big for her house, and I was like, oh my God, that would be perfect to kind of anchor this end of my dining room. And we just, I just kept it very simple. But the layering of the pillows, I think, is kind of what's key about it, and you just want to sink into it. So this is kind of a very comfortable end of the dining room. I'm also featuring here my Sailor Valentines, which I absolutely adore. My husband got them for me in Nantucket over a couple of years of staying out there. And sailors used to make these and ship them home to their loved ones. And so they're just these very intricate shell art that I think is really a beautiful texture for my home. Of course, it's got pink and all white, and I just think they're so sweet. So originally, these were bookshelves in the office, and I left them here. So I could have had something custom done, but I was thinking, I had been carrying around these. They were much longer, and they were paneled, so I thought, what if I cut them and mounted them to the front here? Can that work? Because I needed storage. Obviously, I love setting a table. So I needed storage, and so I mounted them here, and I think it works. I mean, I think that this is sort of the proper storage that I was looking for in the dining room, and it has proven to be unbelievably effective. I think my favorite china is from this Italian company, and the girls at the office are buying me this. Like every Christmas they get me a piece. It's very special, but it comes in beautiful colors, and I absolutely adore it. And I just feel like I'm an old Martha Stewart fan from way, way back. So setting a table for me is like an art form, and I tend to really layer in the dishes and everything. So I do collect cute little things to make the table interesting for the different seasons and stuff. So both old and new, I have lots of dishes. So probably the only corner of the house that my husband did is the bar area. This was an essential that he wanted in the renovation. So he's a bit of a mixologist, and we do love to entertain. So this is a blend of new and old. So these doors and all the drawer fronts and door fronts on this piece were original John Calvin Stevens. It was a china cabinet in the old home. And so I wanted to keep them in the home. And so I designed this bar area to be just really practical and functional. We have an ice maker, 2 refrigerator drawers, and just proper storage for the stuff that we need to have here, and a little sink. So it helps us properly, have the glasses we need in this area and access everything. It's been a game changer. So this is a waterworks tile that I had been eyeing for a long time, and I really think, like in a bar area with glass and everything and a little bit of under cabinet lighting, the sparkle and the dimension that the mirror tile gives is really nice. And so I think that was and it's kind of an antiqued mirror, so that just takes it to the next level, I think. So I did a little weekend project, and I actually did it right in the cabinets as well. And again, I think it just adds depth and dimension, taking the lighting from the front of the house, and I think it's great. I love it. When people walk into my home, I want them to feel welcome, comfortable. We're not really a home that takes off our shoes. I want it to feel broken in and livable. I don't ever want anything to feel too precious. I think that broken in casual feeling has a beauty that you can't really replicate. So I feel like that's a part of the history, and the wear and tear of the home is just important. So that's what I think makes people feel comfortable about coming to my home. My favorite part of my home is the kitchen, because growing up, my dad was always cooking. We were always gathered at the kitchen island, so I have 2 kitchen islands in this home. And and lots of comfortable seating around it, because this is where everybody lands, and this is kind of where the party is. And so I'm usually cooking, and it's just, I would call it my happy place. I think that where my family comes and we all join here, and I'm cooking, and the smells and everything, it's really the best part of the house. So as you can see, we're moving into the kitchen from the dining room, and this is very open space, very open concept. And I have introduced 2 islands in this home because this I knew is going to be where the gathering would be done. So we have a lot of different features that I took a lot of time to design this, knowing that it was going to be open and be such a focal point. I didn't want it to seem, I wanted it to feel a little more like furniture at times and utilitarian, so I can dress it up or down. I think that this island was really a feature of function for us and the way that we live. And at the end, because I was trying to balance the function that we needed, we did a cutting big, thick butcher block down here for carving and displaying things. This is a great spot for it. I did this small trough sink from Kohler that we fill with ice. It can also be a prep sink because it has a garbage disposal. So, it just has this dual purpose for entertaining that is like kind of fun and interesting, and it's sort of like this element in this island that I think is interesting to everybody. I did a lot of drawer storage in this house, and I think that my biggest concerns with adding all these windows, because I really wanted windows to the counter and I wanted all this light, was the absence of upper cabinets. And so the shelving, which suspends from the ceiling from metal rods, this is a 2-inch white oak, and this is perfect for all the things I need to grab quickly, and I think it displays them nice as well. So it's like, it's fashionable yet really practical. I love my refrigerator. That I think is a break in the room. This tower of white oak I think helps with the white lowers. It just is an element of depth here in the middle that kind of helped me break the space up a little bit. So it gave a point of interest. I used, to not make the hardware so like crazy decorative, I did lucite. This is a polished nickel, and just kept it really simple and clean. This was an absolute necessity because I want to be able to grab and do things quickly. And so this practical storage of my cookie sheets and butcher blocks has been such a cool element for me that I can just be quick about it, and it's all like right at my hand. We did a 2-inch Danby, which is a Vermont stone, and it's sort of what I think now is becoming more popular, taking over for Calcutta Gold a little bit. I think that it has a very even, beautiful white tone to it, and it has some soft browns and gray in it. And the veining varies from stone to stone, but I just think it's the right color for for a lot of it. So, and we did the sink. The sink is actually, this is how you can tell it's so similar to Calcutta. The sink is Calcutta Gold because this is a better stone for this use. And so this is a big trough sink for washing dishes, and it goes really well with the Danby stone. So originally, they're a crate and barrel stool that I covered myself. So I think that they were just super comfortable. They fit under the counter, so I didn't want them to have backs and be up, but I wanted the little bit of texture and detail and color here. But again, crate and barrel is a wonderful resource for contemporary style that I think can blend in an old home. We did this design. This is all done out of white oak. Nicola's Home designed it, and we've done the different variations of this, but it sort of is like a nod to a farm table, and I think it just needed, the expansiveness needed these weighted legs on each end. And what I love is that there's a space between the island and the major legs, so it really does feel like it's holding up this massive piece of stone. We have plenty of seating in this house, but I felt like it really needed a table to sit at, because sometimes you want to sit in the round. So I do like to use banquettes and sofas, obviously because I love to layer pillows and I want to be comfortable and sit for a while. So I did beautiful wicker chairs that have a beautiful wood element, and I just think this is just another comfortable space in the kitchen for us to gather and enjoy it. So off the kitchen, we have this sort of what I would consider a 3-season screen porch. What I love about this area is that in the summertime, these are screens and these windows pop out. And so when we can do storms like these in the wintertime, I have these giant heat sail, which are also decorative, these sort of lamps that put off heat so we can heat this in the wintertime and be out here enjoying it if we have a large gathering. So obviously the family favorite thing is the swing, where my daughter tends to take naps and stuff, and that's always a beautiful place to lay in the summertime. Again, it has a full outdoor kitchen. You know, we have refrigerator drawers, ice maker, you know, because if you live in Maine, you eat lobster in the summertime. So this is a power burner, so it boils water really fast, and I can kind of keep the smell outside of the home. So this is really practical for a Mainer. And again, just we do the grilling, we have a uni pizza oven, and I just think, like, I love to cook and I love to have people come over and enjoy it. And so this has just been another bonus space for us that was a really good decision and part of the renovation. So now we're in the family room, which is directly off the kitchen. This is kind of where we sit a lot early in the evening, just because I tend to watch the news here and stuff. There is a big TV. And, you know, these beautiful doors open up to our outdoor patio. And then it has these textured bookshelves, of which my daughter color-coded all my books for me so perfectly. She did that during the pandemic, so I've kind of kept it that way. And it's just sort of another comfortable space in the house that we sit and gather in this, you know, sort of big overstuffed furniture. And it's really comfortable. So this is a cute, another little whimsical piece that I had found. Actually, this is from Anthropology. And it has a little sheep, which of course I loved. And I felt like, you know, I didn't want a dense wooden table here. I wanted something a little more airy. So the size of it I felt was just sort of whimsical and fun, and is a perfect place to set my drink at night. So how I've kind of solved this whole open concept in my house is there's areas where there's rugs, and the rugs kind of all color coordinate in a way, but the seating areas are sort of on top of them. And it helps kind of make these special spaces within a much larger space. And so I think that if you're struggling with a large space, this is a good way to kind of bring in different heights of things that can help make divisions. And like this foyer table, you know, just it sort of identifies this as breaking it from the front door area. And I just think that those kind of breaks in an open space help create smaller spaces. So this is really the area in the home that everybody enters into. Again, we've done another Nicola's home, you know, large 4-foot wide door. Everyone usually this is off the driveway side of the house. And this is, you know, it has an indoor, outdoor carpet here that is just not precious. So they come right in, drop their shoes or wipe their shoes. And this is kind of where I greet everybody all the time. So I want it to be warm and inviting. I have an antique pine chest, another storage piece over here. But it's just sort of a nice greeting area that is warm to come into. So next, I'd love to show you the primary bedroom and bath. Come with me. So welcome to my primary bedroom. This obviously, when I designed it, I wanted it to feel like a bit of a sanctuary for me to come escape. And of course, there's elements of pink, which I love. There's a simplicity to it because I did choose to do a gray on the woodwork and then a light beigey gray grass cloth, which I'm a huge fan of grass cloth because it adds texture to a space without adding pattern, you know, so it's sort of a nice layer. It has an original John Calvin Stevens fireplace, which is nice. We have done gas log sets in some of these fireplaces because the idea of lugging wood and everything can be difficult. Okay, because I have alluded to the fact that pink is my favorite color, and I realize that that is a more feminine color in the color scale, but I think for me, pink is like at this blushy tone that adds warmth to an otherwise kind of cooler room. So the pinks that I'm using, I mean, when I consider pink, you know, I'm using like almost like a purple burgundy, maybe more plum in this check duvet cover, but it's sort of like there's a bunch of different ranges here. And I think that we just layer them in. It's to create a soft bedroom, not a flowery floral bedroom. So I think that there's ways, and I do think that the plum color has helped kind of like soften that and bring that down. But I think that otherwise there's a lot of beige, a lot of neutrals, and just little pops like in the drapery and in the pillows. So I think that pink can be used in this way and not be a room that doesn't include my husband. Much like the rest of the house, I've used some contemporary elements. I consider this kind of more mid-century looking, and as well probably this bench. You know, I think that with the traditional pieces that I have, adding in these elements helps give it a little bit more of a contemporary feel and not so stodgy. So I think that, you know, with the artwork, both old and new, and then obviously, you know, pictures of my daughter, that, you know, it's just supposed to be like a tranquil feel. So coming off the primary bedroom is the master bath. And this was, you know, challenging in the space that we had. I know that I wanted a double vanity. I personally love to have a shelf, and I usually have more things stacked on top of this. I think that what I was trying to get out of this space was all the things we've wanted in a primary bath, but in a little bit of a smaller space. So how I achieve that is, you know, medicine cabinets, that light, so that gives extra storage. We have these large drawers down here that are well organized with the things we need. And I think that, you know, the ability to have a steam shower was something, with the bench, was something that we really wanted. And so how we did that is we did a rain shower, and we were able to sort of get all this in. And I think, and what's interesting is that I had a little laundry closet in the hallway that I made part of this space, and I added some old doors to it. And this is where we have a nice little private toilet room back here. So I think that, you know, not to be afraid to borrow from other spaces during a renovation, and that I think this is really key in a master bath to have, in a nice master bath, to have a private toilet room. And so again, when it comes to hardware in places, I think that I like to keep it simple. I like it to be very functional, but I have in this house used a lot of the lucite because it has that transparency, so it doesn't draw a ton of attention, but yet it's still really sharp. Everyone always asks me how I started in this line of work, and basically I went to art school for college, and I had a creative mind. I was a sculpture major, and I did large form installations. So I transitioned after college into buying small little old homes and renovating and flipping them. I actually lived in them, which wasn't always so great, but I think that's really where I got the bug to renovate and build and do interior design for people. I think once you delve into it, if it's something that really speaks to you, as it did me, there was no turning back. So as an interior designer and building important spaces for other families to live in, and all the decision making all day that we make with other families and people, I really feel that when I come home at night, I like it just the way I left it. I've got the house to a point right now where I'm just very comfortable with it, and I don't feel the need to change anything. I think that when special things come up like this and Homeworthy comes into my house, I of course did a little bit of quick freshening, but I like to check out at night a little bit and kind of regenerate for the next day so I can help people with their homes. I think if you're going to embark on a journey of renovation with a home, whether it's old or new, I think that you want to go into it with open eyes. I often think a good thing to do is do your research, get some professionals into the home, figure out the structurals, because I think a lot of people just tear down walls, and that can be problematic at times. But I think before you either purchase the home or try it, you've got to really do the background work to make sure that all the things you want it to look like can actually happen. So I think that, you know, transformation is very possible, but sometimes it doesn't hurt to just get a little bit of extra advice, and it will save you a big headache on the other end. Okay, so now I'm going to take you to what we call a little gem on the property. and it is my daughter's home, but it's really a guest home. And it is a old barbershop that was downtown Yarmouth, Maine. And when I originally bought the property, it was behind the barn. And I wanted to have it be part of between the home and the barn to create more of a beautiful cluster. And so we actually picked it up and moved it and put it on a foundation over here. And it's adorable. I can't wait to show you. Okay, so here we are in the guest house. Currently, my daughter Maeve lives here, and it was a storage building for me, and I held all my salvage doors and things in it. But when we had chosen to finish it, and we picked it up from behind the barn and moved it sort of to round out the property here, we decided to finish it and have guest quarters on the property. So the furniture in here is this is an old sofa of mine, but my daughter loves it. And it's sort of a mix mash of her furniture and mine, as you do with apartment living. You know, she likes to keep things kind of in her own style, which it is her home right now, so I let her do that. But just to explain what we did to this property is we totally finished. It was just a framed property. So we did all the woodwork. We left the old windows because of the size of them and the grandeur, and I just put storms on the outside. I didn't really want to get into that level of investment with this part of the property. So I wanted it to be energy efficient and hold heat well, but I kept it really simple in the renovation process. However, I did think that if people were going to stay here, and I know that my daughter's a huge baker, I think that it needed a full kitchen. And where it's so small, I wanted to make sure there was a place to gather. This peninsula is the old island from my home. And so I stored it in my warehouse, and we put a new countertop on it here and situated it like this. And I'm glad I kept it because all of the functionality of the island, the trash, the cabinetry, she needs the storage. So I think even though it's big in such a small space, it helps delineate between the living room and the kitchen. And I think that I think it looks great and fits really well in style. So she has basically all she could ever need. She has a beautiful Sub-Zero refrigerator, a range and oven, and then a wonderful farm sink. And I think that it's just in keeping with the property and the style of my home. And what was great about this is we could use some things that were left over for some of the other construction jobs we did, like this tile. And it was just like a good way to kind of piece in some stuff that was laying around. What I love about this the most is that when I walk home from work every night is I stop here and we have a visit and we get caught up on our day. And so I feel very blessed that she wants to still live here and that we can just stay connected in this way. So I do. I absolutely love having her here. All right, let's go check out the barn where my office is. Come with me. So I'm going to show you the barn, which was, when I purchased the property, it was completely unfinished. It truly was a barn. It had mules and chickens in it, and it was a project. So this is literally the project that I tackled first because the importance of moving here to this property was my office. And I think what it's turned into really reflects kind of our style at Nicola's home, and I can't wait to show you. So this is the foyer of the barn, which is and meant to be, the entire barn used to be all 2 stories, and there was just timber frame. So we obviously needed to create spaces within the barn so that it was more for what we needed for showroom space. But the one thing I didn't want to give up is when people came in that they, had the awe of the old barn and seeing some of the timber frame. And so these boards were actually from the barn and we reused them here on the walls. So I left the foyer kind of rustic to sort of preserve the history of what it is. I think originally an interesting note about this barn is it was attached to the house and was moved over here in the 80s. So, which was handy for me, but still, these buildings moving around like this, we do this all the time, and I just think it's a kind of a cool fact. It's gone through different iterations over the last 7 years that I've been here, but now this whole first floor is showroom for us. So when the clients come in, this is really where we show our goods and lay everything out and have them make decisions. There's furniture here that we can customize for them so they can sit in it. We do a lot of high-end custom work. And we want it to feel homey and special for them so they really feel the sense of what we can create in their own home. So we have these big, beautiful design tables that function for everything we need. So the space really does, it displays the library of samples we keep, and we're starting to feature some fabrics and stuff that we love to use. And so it just has beautiful light, and I think gives the essence of what Nicola's home is. Okay, so this is where all the magic happens, upstairs in the barn. This is where we all have our desks. It's our office space, where we library our samples, where we do the real work, and I clearly don't do it alone. So this is where all the girls sit and take a look around. I have 7 full-time employees. We do drafting, we do interior design. You know, we really do everything sort of soup to nuts for a full build and furnish of a home. We have that ability, and we work with teams of architects and builders as well. So there's a lot of versatility in what we do, but I think this space really helps us do it in an organized way, and it's great for clients to see. What makes my house a home to me is my family and the people that come and enjoy it. It's beautiful. The space that I've created is wonderful, but it's not all necessary for a home to be a place where loved ones come and relax. So for me personally, home is the people in it.
On today's episode of Homeworthy, we're going to Rockport, Maine to tour the 23-acre oceanfront Pyne family compound with the utterly unforgettable Tina Pyne.
They're made by Herman Miller, and
She not only has remarkable taste in art and design, but also has a wicked sense of humor.
this skull in here, that's my ex-husband to remind my current husband what I'm capable of.
So come along as we explore their stunning grounds and 5 homes, including a Frank Lloyd Wright design house that is now their dining hall for parties. Enjoy this incredible episode. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more amazing home tours.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story. Like and subscribe for more.
Hi, Homeworthy. I'm Tina. Welcome to our Rockport, Maine home. Come on in, I'll show you around. I'm Tina Pyne, CFO, Chief Family Officer. I live here with my husband, Joe, and we have 2 lovely visitors, our children, Cameron Pyne, who's 22 and lives in D.C., Sam Pyne, his wife, Mary Summers, and his lovely daughters, who are 17-year-old twins, Camille and Marguerite. But mainly the 2 cats live here, and we work for them, John Pyne, and Sabine Pyne. This house was built actually in the 80s, and we bought it about 12 years ago, and it was very different than what you're going to see today. It was owned by a couple who had quite different tastes than we do. It was pretty gaudy. It was so fugly that nobody bought it. And when we looked at it, we realized that this was just a view with a house attached to it. And we had to make enormous space for it so you could see. They had small windows covered with curtains, and the view is what you're going to love about this house. We started with 7 acres. We bought the house, and they had a guest cottage, which you'll see, which was unfinished. They had done the stonework, and if you did that stonework, that would have been $1 million in itself. The house stood on the market for I don't know how many years because it was so gaudy. No one could see past it. So we bought this property, and then we had a neighbor who had this fabulous little Frank Lloyd Wright design house. By saying design means it was built after he died, but it's his design. And it's so close to the water, you could never build anything like that again. So we bought it and turned it into a dining hall. Then my husband decided he needed a barn for the little tractor that he has. That got way out of hand. It's 3 levels and you could fit 12 Suburbans in the bottom. I mean, it's crazy. 6 Suburbans, not 12. You could put others in the other part. And we built an apartment on top of it, which is so adorable. That was so fun to do. That was a great project. And a big garden, a vegetable garden there, because we needed that. Then there was one property left that was between our 2 properties. So when our neighbor decided to sell, she sold it to us. And now we have 23 acres and we have 5 houses on the property, and it's become a family compound. This is the foyer. This is where people enter the house and they see my 2 famous Jamie Wyeth pieces that came from the Deadly Sins collection, which I absolutely love. This is what I get to wake up and see every day. I just love it. This living room was so different when we bought this house. This was all wall with a little bitty porch on the end that we never sat on. And it had these small windows. This was a part of the house I just could not understand people. So we blew it out, put a big porch out here, put the fireplace in, found this piece of granite, added that small window, and just changed it completely. It was the ugliest room in the house, and now it's my favorite. This is Colin Page. He did this piece. It's on Highway 17. He said that he saw this mountains of Camden and did this great piece for us. And then we have these darker pieces are by Rivington Pyne, who, as you might guess, is a relative of my brother-in-law who just passed away in November. And he did some kinky kind of fun stuff that I've always loved. I got a piece every year for my birthday. These are kind of cool. These trunks I bought at Round Top in Texas, and they have a CT on them. And I asked the lady, what is this for? And she said, these were for Kathy Tupper. Who's Kathy Tupper? The Tupperware lady. She founded Tupperware, and this is what she used to haul her stuff around in. I thought that was just so cool. I had to buy them. And these are French hinges from doors. Got these in London. Just so much fun. And this coffee table, which, oh, you couldn't possibly lift. It's big pieces of steel from Bath Ironwork. And this guy designed the bottom for it and put it together. But they're so heavy, you can't possibly move them. And then this piece is Brian White, who is a local artist who we have several pieces. This is all made with shells. And it's just so cool. And he did this with some screen. I gave him a picture of a Dior dress. He made the waist a little bit too big for me. I'd like for it to be smaller, but it's a big fun piece. I can't even count the number of pieces we have. You'll see more upstairs and in other rooms as we go through the house. This skull in here, that's my ex-husband to remind my current husband what I'm capable of. You have to come outside just to really appreciate. But we have this long porch that you can have great cocktail parties, and that's my little herb garden because I cook. And I love to cook. It's great fun. You just go out in the garden, pick some vegetables, come up and cook them and get some fresh seafood. But this is our view.
Tell me about this house over here.
That's our friend Angus. Angus was sitting on this very porch one Saturday and he said, I need to get out of here. I need to get out of Alabama. It's too hot. I need a place. And I turned him around and said, that 116 acres is for sale. The bank has it and it's the deal of the century. And he bought it the next morning. So now I got Angus, who I've known for 40 years, and Joe and I have been friends with forever. So it's great to have him as my next door neighbor. Stucco. Yeah, you don't see that in Maine very often. As Joe said, the people that built this house had more money than sense. They just did all kind of different things that we've been able to turn into more of a comfortable home. It was bizarre when we bought it. There was a solar system that I'm sure 20 years ago was the state of the art that was in here, that was built in the side and had black rocks and went up. We took all of it out. It wasn't functional anymore, and we took all of it out and just made it a comfortable, simpler, much simpler house.
Do you sit here a lot?
When I'm reading, like I just sit here and chill. I mean, just sit here and look at it from my view. It's just so incredible. And the breeze comes through, and there's not that many bugs in Maine, you know. It's pretty good here because we're on the water and the breeze goes through, so we don't have many bugs. So I just sit here and pretend I'm somebody.
Tina, you are somebody.
A legend in my own mind. Brian White did these little things too. And he did this for me for Valentine's Day one year. Isn't that cool?
Who's this baby up above?
That's a little dead baby head. I bought that at an antique shop. My daughter thinks it's disgusting. I think it's kind of cool. People either love it or they hate it. I like art because it invokes people to say that's disgusting or that's gross or, oh, that's kind of cool. I think it's cool. Little dead baby heads. They did them from dolls. They made them from dolls. You'll see the garden, and we have lots of flowers everywhere. And we keep the house full of flowers all the time. That's the deal. Just filling them up with different things. I have garlic scapes. I use all kind of crazy flowers in here. It's just really fun to do that. This piece we bought at an auction in New Orleans. It's carved from a solid piece of wood, and it's African. And we had this fabulous tree that was going by, so I kept all of the sticks from it, and I've used it in several, you'll see this in several of the houses, that I just could not let it go to waste. It's just too cool looking. But that piece is, you know, very heavy and just an interesting thing. My design sense is all about the art and all about the views. I think that if you just do neutral things, the furniture doesn't matter. The furniture needs to be simple because that's not what you're looking at. What you're looking at is the fun things that you find in little shops. The previous owners were really fun people. I wish I could have known them. Sparkle was her name, and she was a Weber Fuel heir, and she married a lobster fisherman's son who became a dentist who wore gold chains and rings on every hand and drove a Rolls Royce, which is very not Maine, if you know what I mean. But they had mirrors everywhere. There was dark blue marble. They had an 8-person tub upstairs in the bathroom that you knew that there was some serious party going on. They had more money since than they built this house. It was built, dynamited into a granite hill at 180-foot elevation overlooking the ocean. And then they built a guest cottage and a croquet court, a regulation croquet court. And I would meet people and they'd say, oh yeah, I played naked croquet at your house. And I just wish I could have been around for that. So we kind of simplified everything. We turned the croquet court into a golf putting green, which you'll see. It's really pretty, and it's kind of like this eternity line on the ocean, or infinity line, whatever you call that, on the ocean. And you'll see it later. I can't wait to show you. Maybe we'll do a few putts together. Okay, let's go to the dining room. This is the dining room. And when I grew up, we had a Lazy Susan in this is a Chihuly piece, by the way, which I love his stuff. I have others in bookshelves. But when I grew up, we had a Lazy Susan. So we had this made for this table that we bought at an auction. And we eat like this. You just roll stuff around. It's really fun. But I'll tell you a little story about these chairs. We used to live on an island. My husband's family has been here more than 100 years. And we lived on this island until I decided we really needed a driveway, and bought this house. But in the attic were these cool chairs. Well, my husband thought they were ugly and we needed to get rid of them. So my fancy friend, who knows a lot about antiques, saw them and said, these are she's English. She goes, these are very valuable chairs, darling. You must check them out. Let me call my dealer. And the dealer said, I'll give you $50,000 for them. So then we fell in love with them, and here they are. Otherwise, they'd probably still be in the attic. That's a Brian White piece here, a little dress he did for me that I just love. I have big dinner parties here, and we have, as I told you, this Frank Lloyd Wright house that we call the dining hall. I have actually seated 40 people in there for dinner, and you'll see that soon. It's so cute. And that's a Ken Nolan. He lived here in the summers. He was married to Paige Rentz, who was head of Architectural Digest for many years. And these are a couple more little riv pines that we have. This little nude is Roberta Getschke. She's, we try to use local artists. She's a local artist as well. And I found these in a trunk. I also found a Louis Vuitton trunk in the garage that they had here when this interesting couple who had this house, she passed away. There's also lots of rumors about that too, maybe. Naked croquet, maybe. Anyway, she passed away and he sold the house, and there was just all kinds of stuff. It was so fugly, you can't even believe how fugly it was. I mean, it had a giant arrangements of fake flowers everywhere, but underneath some of that stuff were treasures, like these little pieces of coral, which I just love. This is Sabine. This is my baby. This is what my daughter got me when she left for college. So I have a little baby, and she is just a love bunny. She's my sweetheart. She is the easiest. If she didn't shed, she'd be perfect. You're perfect, baby. I became an organic gardener, and we grow most of our food here, all of the vegetables and herbs. I love to grow herbs, and I love to cook. So it had to be something that we could just go out to the garden, pick a tomato, pick some herbs, come up and make things. And I love doing that. I love putting things away, and I put them in bags and freeze them. And when we leave for the summer, I take all of that stuff with me. It drives my husband and child crazy. But I love to use my things that I grew to cook with. It's just really fun. Welcome to the kitchen, my space. This is where I live, and this is where I cook. My husband says this is a cluster. I'm not going to use the other word he says, but this is a cluster, but I know where everything is, and I really love to cook, so he's not changing it. It's staying just like it is. Okay, so this kitchen is small, but it's where I hang out, and we bought these in Portland at an antique shop, bought all of them, and I have to put my spoons and forks and everything in them because I don't have enough space, but it's kind of cool because you always know where they are. So you see, it's my happy place. This is wine vinegar that I make. A friend of mine gave us for the 4th of July a big bottle of rosé, and my daughter and her friends promptly drank it in one night, mind you. She had a little party down there. So I make wine vinegar with it. I take a base, like you could even buy some wine vinegar, put it in the bottle, and when you don't finish a bottle or a bottle happens to be bad, you can pour the remains in there, and you need to use a cork top though. And you have it all year, and at Christmas time or whatever, you could give it to your friends, use it for marinades, use it for sauces. It's just way fun to do. This is my garlic scapes that I let dry. And we grow a lot of garlic. So these little pods are actually quite tasty. So we let them dry out, and then I take them and harvest them and kind of saute them in oil and put them in the fridge in a jar and use them for garlic, which is fun. So I'm taking some of these cloves, all right? And you eat them. I'm gonna have horrible garlic breath after this, but you just eat them. Or you saute them and put them in a jar and use them for seasoning, like if you do eggs or whatever. They're wonderful. There's just 2 different ways to use garlic, the tops and the bottoms. This is from the garden this morning. This is our little cat feed up here. And this is lemongrass for the cat. Have to keep that on the counter. And then we have the morning harvest. This is what I live for. I just love this. We harvested the peaches, and I like golden beets. My husband hates beets, but the red ones are so messy. I grow the golden ones. Our first melon, and potatoes we grow in a sack. You take 2 black plastic bags, put some dirt in it, and throw some potato eyes in it. You can cut them. You could cut them or just throw them in there, and they grow up. You just put them outside, punch some holes in the bottom, and then you empty it out and you have all your potatoes ready.
What's your favorite Maine meal?
Last night our meal was pretty fun. We did dry roasted mussels with a butter sauce that you just dip your bread in. I love to make lobster stew because after we have lobster, I cook all the heads down and then I make a stew with it. And I like to eat the heads. My husband, the Yankee, thinks that's disgusting. He hates it. These are little patty squash. These are really fun to cook. And look at these tomatoes. These are yum, yum. And we grow onions. It's just so much fun to have fresh stuff. Some cucumbers, they're so cute. Watermelon, our first one, and these herbs are just, I use them all the time and I make teas with them. Like this is lemon verbenum. This smells, I wish you could smell this on the camera. It smells so good. I dry them all out and I make tea with it. And pineapple sage, have you ever had pineapple sage? It's great in salads, but it also makes a great tea. It's delicious. I do a lot of cocktails with herbs. My favorite is a gin and tonic with a little bit of pink peppercorns and a little bit of thyme in it, and it makes it so pretty. It's so pretty. It's lovely. Like this is what I do with the garlic. And I have the other thing that I make with the garlic top. And then I make a garlic confit. That's all garlic. And this is also garlic confit. Just to give you a little bit of, oh, and this is my honey. I also have honey. And I make a, yeah, that's my honey. And that's just some of the stuff that happens to be in the fridge. The rest of it's in the freezer. You can just, you know, I'll just lay them out like that. Now this honey is my concoction. I put, my honey concoction is I take garlic and I ferment it in honey. And then I add turmeric and ginger and lion's mane mushroom extract to it, and I drink it every day. And it's an immune system thing, and it's really cool. Hi, darling. Does baby want a treat?
Maybe that's what
She wants a treat. She discovered a new kind of treat this morning, and I think she likes it. You like your new kind of treat? The bookshelves are kind of fun, and these are the Chihuly pieces that are in the kitchen, and then we have another Rivington pine here. But they're all books that were mostly on the island, and we found all the blue ones and stuck them together. You know, old books. And this is another Brian White piece that Rivington Pine began the piece, and he passed away, never finished it. So we hired Brian to finish it, and I was going to put it in the bedroom, but I thought his face was too scary. So we put him in here. And these are Richard Remsen, who's a local artist who studied with Chihuly, and he did these cool lobster claws for us. And I know this also looks like a cluster that makes my very Virgo husband crazy, but I love to do fun drink contest here. We have like gin tasting, and everybody comes and we put little cups out and we add herbs to it, and we have tastings, and we have like 5 kinds of gin because that's my new thing, but I also love tequila. So we have tequila tastings, and it's just fun to start before a party, and everybody gets in a really good mood. And then we have this Bo Bartlett and this Ken Nolan, another Ken Nolan, but Bo Bartlett did this piece, which we love. It's called The Anniversary. And Joe bought it for me for our anniversary. And Brian White had this whale vertebra in his shop. And every time I'd go, I'd say, "Can I buy that?" "No, it's mine." And the next time we go, I said, "Brian, come on, sell that to me." "No, it's mine." And then one day the doorbell rang, and Brian White is a very different kind of guy. He didn't speak for the first 2 years we met him. He was just this big, giant, teddy bear looking guy. And he walks in and the doorbell rings and he hands me the vertebra and he goes, "I found a bigger one." And he walked away. He just walked away. I go, "Thank you. Thank you very much." I am from New Iberia, Louisiana, where they make Tabasco sauce. I moved to Houston in 1986, and around 1998, I met my husband on a blind date. The blind date was interesting in itself because I was with 12 women, And you might wonder about that. But this girlfriend called me and said, this guy's going to call you. And he called me on a Friday at 4 o'clock and said, would you like to have a drink? I said, what planet are you from? You don't call someone for a drive-by on a Friday afternoon. And he said, well, I've been married for 27 years. I'm just recently divorced. I don't know the rules. I thought that was cute. So I invited him to my girlfriend's house. Well, we were in a group of 12 women. And when he drove up, he had this STS Cadillac in this like seersucker khaki looking suit. And I thought, this guy's going to be a dud. Let's all say we're Tina. And we did. We were 12 women in line. He went through the whole line. And when he got to me, he said, I hope that you're Tina. And he asked me out again, so he must have liked it. And here we are. We had a child. I was 40. Had a child, my one and only child at 40. This is the guest room, and there's just one thing, a couple things I want to show you. This chest came off of the island. We used to live on an island, my husband's family home. They've been here 100 years, and we took some antiques, all of the antiques off of it that we liked, because an island, you have to put it on a barge, take it off. It's not exactly easy. And then I bought him this great little Sargent, which is right over here, recently at an auction here, and it's right here. So cute. I just love it. You know, because he painted it right before he died, and he is one of the top 10 American artists, and I just knew Joe would like it, so I wanted to get it for him. And, it was in an auction, and not everybody appreciated it, so I got a much better deal on it than you can imagine. Okay, not many people want you to see a bathroom, but I kind of do, because the first piece that Brian White ever did for us, he did not want to do a bathroom. We met through a mutual friend. He said, tell your friend from Texas, no, I don't do bathrooms. Then he came over and saw the other art that we had and said, I'm doing what I want. I said, okay, Brian, and this is what he did. Now, I think it's pretty cool, and when Brian asked me if I liked it, I said, I love it, except the panties are too damn big. People are going to think I have a big old butt. And so I told him if he ever did anything like that again, he needed to make tiny panties. These things, Joe, do you remember what these are from? I think they're from the late 1500s, and they were like done on horseback, and they had this big ball. I have more of them here. Put them on this wall because this wall was hard to do. So we just kind of mounted them, had this guy make these little pieces and mounted them on here just for fun. We're going to go to the bedroom. One of my favorite places in the house and the most serene. This is the bedroom. We have some more of Riv's pieces, the darker ones, and another ugly baby head in here. And this is a picture of my husband's grandmother, Florence, and her sister-in-law, Mary Cuttings Pyne. Oh, they were the grand dames. The grand dames. They would get on the QE2 and go to London and spend their summers in London and stay at the Stafford. And when Joe and I started staying at the Stafford, the old bartender there remembered them. He remembered what they drank, what kind of martinis they liked, because 5 o'clock every day in the American bar, there they were, the two of them. Their husbands had passed away, and they traveled together and hung out together. And I have this sable jacket and the pearls that she's wearing, which is so cool. And that sable jacket is just gorgeous, and it's still in great shape. Look at her, she got her cigarette. So Mary lived in Far Hills, New Jersey, and she had an interesting next door neighbor. And she decided to invite him over for tea, and he was a Tyson. She must have thought he was from the chicken people, but it was Mike Tyson. And Mike Tyson walks in for tea with Aunt Mary with his entourage, with his gold chains, and sits down and has tea with her for an hour. So I wish I could have been a fly on the wall for that encounter. But can you even imagine how cute that was? This is another Brian White piece. Probably his most famous piece. It's a wedding dress with a Tiffany box, and it's all done of shells. And this is like this hard stuff that he uses, which is like a canvas that he somehow hardens. And each of those pieces with shells and beads. I just love that. But the highlight of this room is the view. And this is John Pyne. He's 16 years old and he belongs to our daughter. However, he has been here for about a year, if you know how that goes. When your kid has an animal, you sometimes get it back. His eyes are blue and everything is serene, just like him. I designed this room the color of the cat. That is what this whole house is. Very simple furnishings, neutral colors, because the art and the view are what it's all about. As I said, it's a view with a house. And I mean, you wake up in the morning and see this, it's just incredible. It's hard to be in a bad mood. This is the bathroom. When we bought this house, this bathroom, I cannot tell you how fugly it was. It had an 8-person tub, mirrors on the ceiling, mirrors in the front, navy blue granite, or marble rather, navy blue marble. It was so bad, but our daughter loved it because it was like a pool inside. And Joe finally said, I can't stand to look at this another day. We have to change it. But these windows were here. And look at this. You sit in the tub and look at this view. Not bad. We're going to the barn that got out of hand. The barn that can hold a lot of stuff that was supposed to be built for one little tractor. You'll see. This is a Jeremy Guy sculpture piece that he is a London-born artist who lives in Canada. This art piece and the other one in the front and more that you'll see, I did. I worked with Rockport Steel and did them, and it was so much fun. And that one, art dealer friend of ours came from California and she just commissioned me to do 3 more, so yay! Be fun. We built a little workout room. I wish we used it a little more for our guests that come and the kids play ping pong. That's a picture of Cammie when she was a little baby. Of course, got to have all of the nautical flags up there. Welcome to the garden, which is so much fun. I think they're called rose mallow, and they're really fun, and they're in the hibiscus family, and there's some pink ones back there that you can't see. And this is lemon balm, which I make tea with. It makes wonderful tea. You dry it out and chop it up and just drink it. And there's some nasturtiums and corn and, oh my gosh. And then we have these really cool onions that are just about finished. We had all of our garlic, but let's just grab an onion. A little onion. Everybody needs an onion. I don't even remember, it starts with an L, the name of these, but we decided to grow them and see how they did this year. So they're new. And these are these little teddy bear sunflowers, different types. They're so cute. I just love them. They're furry, and there's some borage and some peppers over here and some wildflowers and some squash over here like I showed you that petty squash. But the corn stalks are fun to also, we keep them because we decorate with them for October. Aren't these just pretty? And that's all sage, because sage comes back and I just think it makes a great filler. So it's really fun to have sage. We grow, oh, look at these. We took these off of the island, sweet peas, and these are perennials, which you can't even find anymore. So we just really cherish them. And some Swiss chard, but this is all delicata, which is my favorite squash. I see a cucumber over there. I see a cucumber. And this was lettuces, but you know, now they're kind of finished. And we had some more corn, which is finished. And this is the potatoes I was telling you about. We have sweet potatoes in here that we haven't harvested, but these are sweet potatoes. And you see, it's just in a bag. You could use a black trash bag to do it, but these are just a little more. We've harvested, we had bags lined all along, so as they harvest, as they're ready, and you can tell because they flower and it kind of falls over like this, so these are ready to harvest. And these are little red potatoes in this one. We harvested some purple fingerlings, And then these are all fruit trees here. This is, we harvested the peaches. Here's a peach they missed. A little peach. We just harvested the peaches this morning. These are, oh God, they're so good. Yum, 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 yum. So this whole area was woods where we needed to build that thing here for that little tractor. And this is what became of it. And then I told you about the dining hall, so let's look at that next. This is the second property we bought, what we call the dining hall. It's this Frank Lloyd Wright design, little house, and it's just cute. You want to see it? Okay. So we bought it and we painted it because it was dark, like lots of that stuff was. And the people that owned it were from New York, and they hadn't been here in 10 years. They didn't even have a kitchen. So we added a little kitchen, and we took some restoration hardware tables, put them together, bought some chairs, built the little benches. We have actually seated 50 people for a wine dinner here to benefit the hospital. We have these little tables that come here. And the fun thing about those dinners is when you get here, you have a bowl, which I'm going to show you, of rocks. And you have to pick a rock. And the rock has a number on it, okay? And each seat has a number, so you don't know who you're going to sit next to, and it makes dinner parties so much more fun because you may have somebody stuffy around somebody really fun, and you can't sit by your spouse. And we turned this part of it, which was just a porch, into a cute little bar. Well, I don't know how cute it is, but it's functional. And it's a bar, and everybody congregates in here and comes, and we mix drinks. And see, I gotta have my pink peppercorns everywhere because I use that in the gin and tonics. And we have storage under here in the bench and enclose this as part of the house. So when we bought this place, we thought we're gonna use it for parties. We're gonna have dinners. So we decided to put a fireplace, and we really wanted a pizza oven. So we told the fireplace guy, the stone worker, could you just put a pizza oven in the back of it and you have heat? So he did. It's not huge. I'm scared to open it. It's not huge, but you know, you can make your pizzas in here, and I always put a roast at night because you got that heat. You don't ever want to waste your heat in a pizza oven. And then we have one of those Brazilian grills where you turn the handle, but I guess the most important thing we need to look at is my husband's boat. He loves the boat. So we're going to walk down and take a look. Here we are at the boat, my husband's favorite part. He loves his boat. Have you ever seen a dog when they're in a car and they're sticking their head out with their tongue? That's how he is driving that boat. It's his happy place. This is our property called the Treehouse. It's the last piece of property that we bought, and I'm going to take you inside. But before I do, I want to tell you about these crazy sculpture pieces. Rockport Steel's who I work with to do my sculpture, and I was walking around and saw this scrap on the ground, and that's it. I painted them, turned them upside down, and made them into sculpture. And that's a piece of driftwood that was on the property. Welcome to the Treehouse. The treehouse was the last piece that we bought. We didn't do very much to it except paint and, of course, furnish it. That's another Brian White piece. Boy, I have a lot of his stuff. And that's another Bo Bartlett, which I just love. This is a table that we had in Houston that we refinished and had done. Also going to show you something that I found at the Hammer Museum in Los Angeles that I could not resist buying. 3 of them. They're made by Herman Miller, and when you're drinking, it's really fun. See why we call it the Treehouse? They kind of look like pieces of art. I mean, they can sit, you know, up, and they were all lined up at the Hammer Museum. They must have had 12 of them. And then I saw these kids jump on them and start playing with them, and I just thought, oh my God, I have to have them. They're just so much fun. So when we lived on the island, I commissioned a portrait of the island, and I got my husband's boat. You think there was a sidebar in there? I mean, yes, that's the house, but the boat is what he did the painting of. These are Rosa rugosas, very common in Maine. They're sea roses because they can take the elements, but a lot of people don't know that when they're finished, that these are full of vitamin C. It's rose hips. You just dry them out. I put them like a big tray on a cookie sheet in the oven I turn the oven on 200 when it gets to and put them in. When it gets to 200, I turn the oven off and leave them in there till they're dry. And then I take them and crunch them up and make tea with them. They're delicious. I mix it with mint, I mix it with lemon balm, a lot of stuff that I grow. I make so many different teas, and rose petals as well. Makes great tea. It gives it great flavor. It's really fun. They were roses. This is a secondary market.
At one point they were.
Yeah, like this rose. Where did we just see some? See what this rose is? And these are the old kind that smell good, but this is what a Rosa rugosa, I mean, this is the end of it. It's not super pretty, but that's what it looks like. And then it turns to this, they dry up. This, and then to the dry part. So you could just pick the dry ones and make tea full of vitamin C, chock full. So this is the guest cottage, and I saved showing it to you for last because it might be my favorite, but I have to tell you, different people that stay here choose different houses. It's so bizarre. Everybody has different taste of what they like. Come and have a look. We have our zinnias. Are these just fabulous? I love them. I use them for cut flowers. And in the other pots, I decided to make a little herb garden here for somebody that's staying here. Just some mint and some basil and rosemary and parsley. And of course I have to have pineapple sage on everything. Welcome to the guest cottage. This place we bought with the original house, and it was not complete. The stone work was done, which would have cost us a fortune. And the inside was a total shell. So we got to do exactly what we wanted. I wanted to make it look somewhat like a ship, you know, kind of the feel of the water. And so we did. It's got 2 bedrooms, and it is where a lot of people like to stay because it's really cute. And it's just super comfortable. We did the kitchen with drawers so you wouldn't have all of your appliances up. And of course, it's got its own little bar like every other house. This is Joe's contribution to the guest cottage. He cannot stand to have a television showing. So this is called Reversica. And he had this put in here, which I think is so cute. You can't tell it's a TV. So this is the 2nd bedroom. There's 2 bedrooms in this house. We went to auction and bought this in Thomaston, Maine. And I just wanted to make it feel really serene. This little area here has fabulous views, and you could just sit here and read a book and hang out. I mean, it's just super comfortable. This is the master guest room of the guest house. And we have twin granddaughters. They're 17 now, but when they were little, we got 1.5 that pull out to single beds. So their parents could stay in this room and they could stay in the room too. It's just comfortable. It's just a fun, comfortable kind of place. So my husband started playing golf in the last few years, and this was a regulation croquet court, which we used, but it was really hard to take care of. So I called this golf company. To surprise him, I got this with this view. We have a trail that goes up to the main house, which is like a goat trail. There's a bench in the middle for a reason, because it is not easy to climb. But I mean, what kind of putt-putt range do you have with this kind of view? Of course, Texas flags on the holes. I'm happy where I'm planted. Wherever I am is where my family is, and that's where I'm happy. and I try to make it comfortable for everyone. I love to cook. I cook a lot when I'm here. We eat a lot of meals at home, and we have friends come over, and we're out on this patio so much. It's just so much fun to be here. There's so many, and everything's organic on the property. The food is fabulous in Maine. We live 5 minutes from 3 James Beard restaurants. We live within 10 minutes, you have the airport and the Snow Bowl in the winter. And of course, 5 minutes from 3 golf courses, which makes it really special.
On today's episode of Homeworthy, we're on the coast of Maine visiting blogger Molly Walpuck. Known on Instagram as Molly in Maine, she shares her love of coastal style, the color blue, and home decor that tells a story. In 2018, Molly retired from a career with the federal government and left Washington, D.C. to transform 2 rundown cottages into a beautiful coastal retreat. Over the years, she has overseen a renovation, a new build, and endless landscape. Her home reflects casual living, family time, and her beloved Springer Spaniels, Maddie and Cisco. Enjoy! You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story. Before today's episode, click the join button below to support all of the storytelling we do on this channel. Our growing community of members help to directly fund more videos so we can capture these extraordinary homes from around the world. So join today to receive early and exclusive access to new Homeworthy videos.
Hey Homeworthy, I'm Molly. Welcome to my home in Maine. Come on in, let me show you around. Hi, I'm Molly Walpuck. I am coming to you from the beautiful coast of Maine. I retired from the federal government after 32 years of service there and moved to Maine and started an Instagram account, and then a couple years ago I started a blog. So I spend a lot of time working on my home, sharing it with people out there, and I also do volunteer work at our local food pantry. I moved up here full-time in 2018, and we had bought the property in 2016, and you will see the view here. And when I saw the view standing in our field, I fell in love, even though the property had 2 very run-down cottages on it, but it was a dream come true for me. This is our entryway. This is directly to the right when you walk into the house, and it may be small, but for me it's kind of exciting because it's the first time I've ever had an entryway in a house. And especially here in Maine with the seasons that we have, it's great to have some place to hang your jacket, take off your muddy boots, and get into the house. So I have these fun hooks here that are whale's tails. This is my happy place. I bought this as a cottage, Victorian cottage piece of furniture. I have a thing for these whimsically painted pieces that are pretty commonly found here in New England. They date to the late 1800s, early 1900s. I have some painted tin pieces and some old painted tin picnic baskets. I have a thing for anything with like a faux wicker or wood painted finish on it. A blue bench that I got from a local auction where you can sit and take your boots off. And then this antique wicker sewing basket that was my mom's. My mom and dad lived in London for years, and my mom was a huge antique collector, and you will see I have a lot of her things in my home. The stained glass window here in the front door is very special to our family. We had it in our home in Maryland where we lived before, and it welcomed us home for many years there. So we moved it up here and put it in our home here, and it just immediately made this place feel like home. On this wall here, this half wall, I have a collection of baskets from, many of them are some Nantucket baskets that I collected when I was there, and then baskets that were my mom's and my grandmother's. So this is a special collection that I have here. Now let's head into the mudroom. Welcome to the mudroom. This is another small space, but again, I've never had a mudroom in any home that I had, so I love this space. It's nice that it has its own entryway, so it can come right in with mud and muddy feet and muddy paws. I have this antique pine piece that I got at a local auction that's great. It holds all kinds of things, including my recycling. Up above, I have all my vases and baskets and stuff that I use for flower arrangements. These are some antique blue and white transferware that my mom gave me. My daughter did this at one of those paint parties. It was a paint by number, and that's my dog Maddie, who you'll be meeting later. Nice, got the washer and dryer here, cabinetry, and then this is one of my favorite things in the house. It's a dog shower, which is super important here in Maine because we have mud season, and I've got 2 dogs, and this is great. They come in through the door, they hop right up, I rinse them off. It's also great for watering plants, rinsing paintbrushes. It's kind of like my utility sink, and I'm a relatively new grandmother, so it's also going to be great for rinsing off sandy feet when they come home from the beach. I have some towel racks that I made out of old shoe forms. These pictures up above are one of the oldest things that I have owned in the house. They are pictures from an old book that were hanging in my oldest daughter's nursery when she was little. So those bring back good memories. And then I have shelves there that just contain jars and treasures that I found by the water, just for fun. This is small, but a very hard-working room, and it's truly one of my favorite rooms in the house, which sounds kind of crazy. But it's just so great to have this space where I can dump things. It's great. I got the laundry right here. Previously, we had our laundry in the basement, and the house before that, it was actually in a shed in the backyard. So having it right here, right near everything, is really nice. Right off the mudroom is our front hallway, and I will take you there now. And here we are in the entryway. One of my favorite things about this house is how when you walk through the front door, you can look straight back to the ocean. It's just the greatest welcome home every time. Some of the things that I have here, one of my favorite things is this antique pull-down school map of Maine that I found at a local antique store. I don't think it was ever even used because it's in perfect condition. And I love having it. Just immediately gives a sense of place when you walk through, and it's fun for guests to be able to look and see what's here. It's amazing. It's from probably the early 1900s, but Maine hasn't changed much. The towns are still pretty much the same. Underneath I have a trunk, a small trunk painted with a sailing ship that I got at an antique store, and then a blue painted trunk that I got from an auction. My favorite color is blue, you will see. So it's perfect. And then here is an amazing piece that my parents brought back from London. They had it in their kitchen, and when they downsized, I was the lucky recipient, and it was pretty far along. Hey, buddy. During their construction process in the house, and it's a large piece of furniture, so I was lucky that I had a spot for it, and it was tucked right in here in the hallway, and it's great. Not only does it look great, but it has so much storage space in it. And then above it is some of my mom's incredible collection of antique blue and white transferware. As I said, they lived in London, and my mom used to go to all the antique markets and antique shows and stores, and she has an enormous collection. I have this, I have some more. I have 2 sisters, they both have collections of it, and my dad still has some of it. That's how amazing and vast her collection was, but they're just so special to me to have. She loved them so much, and for me to have this piece of her in the house is just a wonderful thing. One thing that I like to do when arranging things is I like a symmetrical arrangement to some extent, but then I also like to add in pieces that are a little asymmetrical. So you can see this kind of moves up to the right here. And And then I also like to add in one thing that's not like the others. So I have a bird that's made out of a brown plate up there. I do not have a background in design. I have just always loved it, even from when I was a kid. I remember I painted my walls in my room bright yellow, and I had yellow and orange furniture, and I decorated my college dorm rooms. It's just always been something that I loved. And when I retired and moved here, it was something that I wanted to focus on some more. And when we built the house, I knew I had this incredible canvas to work with. So it's just been so much fun. So the floor here in the entryway, mudroom, and the hallway here is quartzite. And it's definitely something we chose because of the weather here in Maine, so that you can come in with your muddy shoes or your wet feet or whatever, and it won't get damaged. And then the rest of the house or the main living spaces have pine floors. I also love the way this quartzite picks up on the stone that we've used for the fireplace. Again, since this is a hardworking space, I also chose to cover the walls in tongue and groove paneling because it can withstand bumps and dings and everything better than the drywall. I also like how it defines this space as its own thing. The downstairs is pretty open, and it's nice. There's different ways that I've defined each space, either by flooring or wall things or ceiling treatments, which I'll be showing you more of. This bench here is another piece that I got from my parents. I think they got it in England, and I think it was an old bench in a sleigh or a carriage or something. But they kept it next to the door in their family room, so the door to the outside. So it kind of serves the same purpose here. One little detail that I think is fun is on top of the newel posts on the stairs, I found some beach rocks that I attached to them, just as, again, a little nod to the beautiful spot that I live in. Here we are in the living room. So the living room and the dining area are pretty much open to each other, except for the stone fireplace that stands in the middle. And this is literally and figuratively the heart of the home. The stone was actually locally quarried. This is an area where we used to have a bunch of granite quarries. And these were apparently the cast-offs, and they were used as fill on the property when the original cottage was placed here. So when they excavated for the basement and the foundation, they found all this rock, and my builder was kind enough to save it for me because it's the only thing I didn't pay for when this house was built. But it's just a beautiful fireplace. The mason did an amazing job. And then this mantle is actually salvaged from the original cottage that was here. It's the only thing that I kept. This is one of my favorite areas. When I first moved in, I was looking for some kind of significant art to put here, and I couldn't settle on anything, and I finally just decided that I would switch it up seasonally. So this is my early summer decor. I change it for Christmas and in the fall, and I actually have a lot of fun with it. It's a two-sided fireplace so that you can see through, so you can see it from the dining room too. And sitting in front of the fireplace are Maddie and Cisco in their very favorite swivel chairs. I'm a big fan of the slipcover because Maddie and Cisco are a big fan of the furniture. So I change these out seasonally too. In the winter, I have a cozy sheepskin-y kind of thing that I put on them, and they have their flowers on for summer. For the mantle display for summer, I have some netting that I put on there, some driftwood, just some kind of like collected things, some shells, a little buoy, and this was a piece that I found actually at an estate sale in Maryland. It's a piece of driftwood that has shells and rocks and sea glass on it that I've added to over time, and I just nailed it right into the fireplace. This is an antique Bavarian marriage cabinet that it's my most recent acquisition here. I wasn't looking for a piece. I walked into an antique store that was going out of business. They were having an incredible sale, and the next day I brought this home. It's just, I fell in love with it. It's just the perfect colors. I love the painted design on it. And the kicker on it was it actually has my first name and maiden last name initials on it. So I felt like it was meant to be for me. On top, these are antique pet carriers. This one I got at an estate sale in Maryland, and it even came with the little food basket that they put the pet food in with the label from where it was, like the name of the pet and where it was coming from. It's very cool. Here's the main seating area in the living room. This is a long, kind of narrow space, so I ended up dividing it into kind of 3 sections. So there's the seating area by the fireplace where Maddie and Cisco like to lounge, and then this is the main seating area. We have a family of 8 adults, so I wanted a seating place for everyone, so that's how I ended up with a sofa, love seat, and then 3 chairs. Again, slip covers everywhere because I just like the fact that I can toss them in the wash, and I also change those up seasonally. In the winter I add darker, cozier fabrics. I like to mix and match my throw pillows. I also change those up seasonally, just to have a lot of fun with different fabrics and patterns. I get most of my inspiration in this house, and especially in this downstairs living area, from the outside, from the view out my windows. So for example, this fabric I thought was really fun. It has lobster fishing boats on it. I have a bit of a thing for seagulls. I have this collection of carved seagulls that I've picked up at auctions and antique shows, and I just love this grouping, kind of with their friends out the windows. And then I have some antique prints, again, seagulls, that I have on the walls. And then I have the big kahuna over here. I call this Godzilla, the seagull that ate my living room. It's a reprint of an old painting, but I just felt like the room needed something large here. So I have a giant seagull hanging on my wall. This chest of drawers is the first piece of furniture that I won at an auction. I have this thing, as I've mentioned, for antique Victorian painted cottage furniture, and these pieces date to the late 1800s, and I fell in love with this piece. It's got these amazing bucolic scenes painted on it, the faux wood grain, and I was ready to fight for this thing. And the bidding started, and if you've ever been to an auction, the auctioneer starts at a certain thing, and then he will drop the price until somebody kicks in. And he kept dropping and dropping, and nobody else was kicking in, and it got down to $35. I was the only bidder, and I walked out of there a very happy woman, and I still love this piece. It's one of my favorites. On top, I have a dough bowl and some wire containers with just a whole big old pile of seashells. No, I have not collected these on the beaches here. I got most of them at estate sales. And then above, keeping with the shell theme, I have a bunch of old prints, seashell prints. And then this was painted by an artist who found me through Instagram, and she painted this gallery wall with Maddie lying on the couch. And I just think it's so fun to have a picture of this wall hanging on this wall. Over in this corner is kind of a work table, puzzle table. This is where I work on my blog, and more of my seagull prints here. This pine table I got at an estate sale in Maryland before the house was even built. So I'm glad I found a good spot for it. I love to visit local antique stores and auctions and antique shows and pick up things for the house. I would probably say that besides the sofas and the soft furniture in the house. Pretty much everything is antique or vintage. I just love the character that it brings to a home, the soul, stuff that has a story before you even bring it through the door. Many of my pieces came from my parents, so it's a wonderful reminder of my mom who picked them out. And last but not least, I like that they're already broken in, so I don't need to worry about them getting banged or dinged, or, you know, if it's worn, I just feel like that gives it more character, and I don't need to worry about ruining it. Off the living room, we have access to the deck, so let's head outside. One of the great things about this house is we have this large wraparound deck that overlooks the ocean from here. Here we have a seating area. I moved the wicker settee from Maryland. It was on our porch there for many years, and I wasn't going to bring it with me. And my daughter was like, "Just put it in the crate to go." And so I did, and I'm so glad that I did. The other furniture was locally made out of cedar. This isn't a fancy porch with big cushy furniture. This is Maine. We keep things pretty basic. The weather, we get a pounding from the weather here. So I love how this all has weathered to this gray. I made this table out of a board that I found washed up on the shoreline with a little stand. I have pieces of driftwood. And then this is the classic Maine lobster trap coffee table, which is kind of, you have to have one of these if you live on the coast of Maine. But I love how it's all just weathered and worn, and just perfect. And I found these really cool shutters with the boat cutouts at a local antique store, and I just think they look perfect. Coming around over here, we have more seating for people to enjoy the ocean view, and then a dining area here with a teak table. Again, I love how it weathers to the silver in the ocean. I set this up for just a casual meal out on the deck with some fun nautical or fish themed plates from Cascada, and a little red, white, and blue for the upcoming holiday. Last year I painted these buoys that I found at an antiques place, and I painted them with blue and white stripes. Looking up there, that's our wildflower meadow. I just let it go wild in the summer, and it's full of different flowers all summer long. I love it. And it's great for pollinators. Let's head inside now to the dining room. This is the other side of the stone fireplace. I differentiated this one from the other one by having a stone mantle instead of the wood, and then it's got a floor level hearth instead of the raised hearth on the other side, just to kind of mix it up. Unlike the other side, I leave this blue and white here year round and just switch things up by adding different things to the mugs that are on the mantle. This is a pattern called Barley and Hops. It's probably old pubware, which is amazing that it's still in this kind of condition. This was, again, from my mom. It was one of my favorite groupings that she had, and I just so grateful that I have it here. I broke a piece last year. Made me really sad. Above some traditional, the Willowware platters, as well as a really fun one with a bunny pattern. And then again, to tie into the location, I've got these mussel and clamshell, a wreath made out of mussel and clamshells. Hanging here in the summer on this side, I hang this flag. It is not the Danish flag, which many people ask me. It is a nautical flag. It represents the letter X. A trunk in front of the fireplace is from my parents, and then 2 wooden pins that I got at an antique show that I just kind of think it all pulls it all together. And again, a pair of fireside chairs that you can sit in, and it's nice somebody can sit and be comfortable here and talk with the cook in the kitchen, which is right over there. In this corner, I have a pine corner hutch that came from a local antique store, and I have filled it with a collection of antique spongeware. I saw this on a another Instagram account and I fell in love with it immediately. I was lucky. I bought most of it from 2 different auctions. I was lucky to win it. So I've just filled it full of it, and then on top I just have a jumble of ropes and buoys, and this is a rope bumper for boats. I just kind of like the jumbly mess of it. I'm of the firm believer that in collecting, you should display all your items together in a grouping for the biggest impact. And I also feel that when it's organized and displayed together, it doesn't look as cluttered as it can if you have lots of different things put together or spread all over the place, because I think your eye kind of reads this as a whole instead of all the different pieces. Here in this window is where I have my plants. Never had much of a green thumb, but they somehow just seem to like this spot here. Maybe they like the view, I don't know. It's really important for me during the winter, which is very long and dark here in Maine, to have this green. So I just kind of keep bringing plants home. The dining table I had made new from reclaimed pine. Our family loves to cook. Sitting down for a meal together is a very special thing for us. So I wanted to have a big table that our family could gather around for many years. And it extends, the 2 ends pull out, so I'll be able to see many grandchildren to come. I set the table. When I set a table, I usually like to keep it pretty simple. I know I've got a lot of stuff all over the house, but I don't like a table that's got lots of stuff. So simple wicker placemats, some striped blue dishes. I love a block print for the napkins. I just got these great little lamps that I think are really cool with cute little raffia shades. For the centerpiece, I don't do well with flowers. They don't last long for me. Then they end up dropping petals all over the place. But I like to have something natural in the centerpiece. So for this, I've done starfish. I do pumpkins in the fall. I've done oranges in the winter. And I, again, keep my centerpiece really simple. I just often have a stack of bowls. I have some wooden bowls that I stack. I just like it. It's tidy, it's neat, and I always like to have it on a runner. The chairs that I chose are from Serena and Lily. They're the classic French bistro chair, of course in blue and white. I had always wanted a set of these chairs, and I like the little bit of something modern that they give with all, with all the antiques that I have in here. They just look fresh and clean, and they're really comfortable. And then I have the matching bar stools here. This is so many people's favorite corner in my house. Again, it's another piece of fun Victorian painted cottage furniture. I love the design on this. I've turned it into, it's a washstand, but I've turned it into like a little drinks table. And with this rope lamp that was a gift for me, and then this plate wall that I did. When I first got, these are the plates that I got, they're Limoges plates that I found at a local antique store. And I had them all lined up symmetrically, and I just looked at it one day and I was like, it's not working for me. So I've created this kind of organic flowing thing. I've added a couple plates. I recently added these 2 lobster plates. There's a couple oyster ones in there, but I just love how it starts from one wall and travels up. And then for my one thing is not like the other, I added a wooden carved fish that I got from a friend. Here, I like to use some interesting containers for my plants. This is an old wood grain painted bucket. And then this piece is a big old flower bin that I found at an antique show, and it holds Maddie and Cisco's dog food. This pine hutch I moved from Maryland. It's one of the only pieces that I moved, and the architect actually designed a space for this. I love how it's in the dining room, but it's also kind of in the kitchen, so it kind of has a casual feel to it. In the summer, I have it filled with my collection of Cornish ware. Another thing that I saw online and fell in love with immediately, and I actually bought most of my collection in one fell swoop from a woman who was getting rid of it, and I did this kind of shady driving down and meeting at the New Hampshire liquor store parking lot to purchase it from her, so it was pretty funny. But again, I just feel like when you put it all together, one thing all together, it just makes it look controlled and cohesive as one whole. I bought the breadboard and the painting at the Brimfield flea market, which I've been to twice now. It's such a blast. And when I did the arrangement up here for summer, I kind of mimicked the 3 pieces in there. So I've got a striped bowl and a crock and then a pitcher. So that was kind of fun. Just a little details that I like to do. Right off the dining room is the kitchen. Let's head in there. This kitchen is very much a working kitchen. It doesn't have all the bells and whistles that I see on so many kitchens these days, but it's just perfect for me. I went with the 2-tone cabinets. I like the idea of a white kitchen, but I didn't want it all white. I love how the wood on the bottom warms things up. These are actually red birch, and it's the exact same cabinets that I had in our home in Maryland, which I loved so much. Again, working kitchen. I like to keep my pots out. This pot rack was actually fashioned from plumbing parts. My builder was very industrious, so I love it. Big farmhouse sink that I have. Of course, my backsplash tile had to be blue. Last year, I did a fun little project. I lined the backs of the glass cabinets in peel and stick wallpaper, which is just a nice detail and so easy to do. The countertops are white quartz with a little bit of graining in them. Last year, I also did a project where I painted the floor in a blue and white checkered pattern. And I just love how it brightens the space. I love how it contrasts with the wooden cabinets. And it's also nice in an open concept space to have something that separates the spaces. So the floors, the painted floor starts in the kitchen. I also did that on the ceiling. There's a beadboard, painted beadboard ceiling that also differentiates it from the pine beams that we have in the dining and the living area. This here is my beautiful blue star range. I fell in love with this the minute I saw it. It's a workhorse. It just feels like the kind of stove that's going to be here for years and years. It's generations are going to be using this stove. I really love it, and I situated it here on the island so that the cook can enjoy the view and also converse with people in the dining area. This is my pantry cabinet. I don't have a fancy walk-in cabinet, but I love this, and I wanted it to look like a piece of furniture instead of cabinetry, so it's different. It's got the beadboard front, and I color matched it to the stove. This wall is another one of my wall displays of collection. These are different kinds of fish molds that I just had a lot of fun collecting them and arranging them. So this side of the kitchen island, the other side has my range. This side has a seating area. Again, something I've never had in any of the houses that I had. I love it this is where I have breakfast every morning, and I do have a sneaky TV here in the kitchen, so it's nice to sit here in the morning and watch the morning news. I mentioned I don't do big flower arrangements, but I do like to go out into our wildflower field and pick wildflowers. So it is lupin season here in Maine, so I went out and picked some of those this morning, as well as a few others that I like to have displayed. That's my kind of flower arrangement, casual. Now let's go upstairs to the primary bedroom. Welcome to the primary bedroom. The cottage that stood on the property before was just one story. So I was really excited to see what the view would look like from the second floor. This view is probably the best one in the house that you get right when you walk through the doorway, and the architect designed big windows to take it all in. This is a little sitting area that we have right when you walk in. I got this old mantle at an estate sale in Maryland. Didn't know where I was going to put it when we moved up here, and it finally found its resting place here. I painted it a dark green, and then for fun I filled it with books, and then I carried onto the mantle display kind of the book theme ahead. So this is my little book nook, or my reading corner. This is a painting of my kids when they were little, so it's a very, very special one to me. A nice comfy chair to sit in and read. The wicker furniture, the table and chair, were pieces that my mom found at an estate sale, and they have the best chippy old paint on them that's worn and weathered, and I love the feeling that they have, casual and relaxed and just not too perfect. The bed is kind of the showpiece in the room. Started with this headboard that was part of a Victorian cottage piece set that I found at a local antique store that came with the headboard, a washstand, a dresser, and a table. And old beds are only full size, so I wanted to make it into a queen size bed. So I had a craftsman make it into a 4-poster bed. He did an amazing job, and for fun he added, for the finials on top, they're all shells, which speaks to the arrangement that I have hanging over the bed, which are Sailor's Valentines. It's a collection that I had. Our family used to vacation on Nantucket. I bought most of them there, and they are one of my most treasured collections. The Victorian cottage furniture was known for its fanciful painting, but this headboard is just an exquisite piece with this amazing view with the water and the boats and the trees and everything. It's just, I think it's just absolutely spectacular, and it just seems so perfect for my location, like it was made for me so many years ago. The bedding ties in again with the location. It's this fabulous that's got shells and wildflowers on it. My theme here is kind of meadow and sea, because we have the wildflower meadow on one side and the ocean on the other. For this piece here, the same craftsman who made the bed took the top from the table and then made a chest of drawer, a little nightstand out of it that has drawers on it, which I love. Over here, some more wicker pieces. I love to use wicker inside. I just love the casual, very New England, Maine feel that it has to it. My family gallery of all my kids. This artwork is a special one. It was painted by a woman named Colleen Spiker, who sadly passed away last year, but I have a couple mermaids in the house that I love. More pieces of wicker from the collection that my mom got. This dresser here is kind of like the bed. It's a mix of things. The base is from an auction, and then I added the mirror that goes with the bed to the top to kind of mix it up. And on top I have these fun old shell trinkets that are bathing beauties sitting on top of shells and rocks and stuff. I just think they're charming. One of the bedrooms we have upstairs we call the captain's bedroom, named after this fellow. It was originally called the headbanger bedroom though, because you can see it's got very steeply pitched ceilings. As soon as he heard it called that, my son, who likes hard rock music, definitely claimed it as his room because it was the headbanger room, though he's the tallest one in the family, so I don't know if he's ever banged his head here. This bedroom is very small, but I love its old, tucked under the eaves kind of feeling. It just feels like a room in an old house and not a new one. I love to paint the walls in a small room a dark color, so these are deep navy blue. The bed is another one that I had It's another antique bed that I had made into a full size. Again, it's got a beautiful scene painted on it. I love it. Above the bed, I have done another gallery wall. I love to do a collection like this because it kind of is like it was collected over time. These are all sailing ships with the captain in the middle. The bedding carries the nautical theme. It's from Schweitzer linen with this beautiful embroidered rope. This chest of drawers was another piece that my parents got in London. It's the prettiest piece. I love the painted detail on it. It was in a bedroom, guest bedroom in their home. Some collected watercolors around the edges. And over here at the window, I have another piece from my parents. This is an old dough bin. My grandfather, I come by my collecting honestly. My grandfather was a collector, my mom was a collector, and one of the things my grandfather collected was treen. It's old pieces of wood. And he was a judge, so he also had a bunch of gavels. So this is some of his. I just stuck it in a bowl. This is everyone's favorite lamp. I found this at an antique show here. I don't know why the sailor has no head, but it's pretty funny. So he's either the party sailor or the headless sailor, but he's got a lampshade on his head. This is a little desk. During COVID, when my kids came to visit, I realized they all needed some spots to work. So here's a little teeny desk that my daughter-in-law often works at when she comes to visit. I got this at a local auction. I love this knot board, also from the same auction, just going with the nautical theme. An old Courier knives. On the floor in here, I have a really fun, just casual blue and white checked rug. I just love the casual feel of it. Now I want to show you our upstairs hall bathroom. This is our upstairs hall bath. This house was a new build. There's a tradition in Maine of houses being passed down through the generations, being a house that the family comes to for years and treasured summer memories and collections and everything. And I kind of wanted our house here to have that kind of feel. I'm hoping that one day maybe my kids will want this house so that we will pass this down through the generations. So even though it's a new build, I wanted it to feel old and I wanted it to feel collected over time. And for this bathroom, I just feel like it kind of embodies that feeling. Again, it's tucked under the eaves. I went with tongue and groove paneling, and instead of a tile floor, I went with a very simple painted wooden floor. It just feels so old Maine to me. I got this apothecary vanity from Pottery Barn. I just love the very basic feel. A simple mirror that's attached to the wall, like nothing fancy, but updated and modern with good plumbing and good fixtures and everything. We divided both of the bathrooms up here are divided into two separate rooms. This is particularly nice when the kids are all here because people can be brushing their teeth and washing their face, whatever. Someone can be using the shower. So there's a pocket door that pulls shut, so it kind of operates as two different spaces. Something that's super noticeable and like really makes a big impact is this incredibly cool wallpaper that I had done. It's from Nautical Chart Wallpapers, and this is actually our cove right out the windows that they take the actual nautical charts and blow them up, and these are custom colors that I had done to match the floor. I just think it adds such an incredible sense of place to this room. Here is in the other part, we have a larger area of the nautical charts here. I have them on the wall over there. Simple wicker. This one I think is really fun that I got at an antique store. Things in here are pretty basic, but I love the fanciful weave of all this wicker with all of that. Since this is supposed to be a good old Maine bathroom, just a plain old tub that actually my plumber picked out. Not a fancy tub. In the wall, the tile in the tub surround is a beautiful blue, which was the color that inspired the floor. and everything in here. For storage in here, I just have a simple old chest of drawers, nothing fancy, some blue and white striped buckets here. And then I have 2 prints that are by local Maine artist Sarah Fitz. I chose these before the house was even built. Like, I had a vision, I knew where they were going to hang, and I just think they are just wonderfully summery and nautical. Home for me, above all, is a haven. It's a place to feel safe, get away from the world, crazy, crazy world. It's a place for my friends and my family to come and relax and rewind. More than anything, this home is alive when they are here with me. Thanks for coming, Homeworthy. It was great to see you.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to go to homeworthy.com for exclusive content, shopping guides, and so much more.